Hello everybody, I hope you're okay. Thank you for watching today. I'm sorry, I did say that these would be live weekly videos. However, this week, hopefully, this is pre-recorded, hopefully I'm down in London at an exciting meeting, which I will tell you all about on the day. So I've recorded this for anyone who is following along with our starting school activities. If you didn't see the video last week, please do. That's a really important one because that was the 10-week countdown to starting school. So some things that you might want to start collecting and putting together. So please do watch that one as well. However, this week we are going to be talking about something else. And it's an important one, this one. They're all important, obviously. But with 9 weeks to go, we're going to be talking about names, your child's name, being able to recognise their name. And this is really important because when your child starts school, they're going to be in a class with lots of other children, possibly other classes in the year group or mixing with other classes as well. And a child's name is very personal to them. It's very important and it's very significant. And the reason why we need to encourage our children to practice recognising their name. So first of all, we're focused on reading and recognising their name before we start talking about writing it. But the reason why we want them to be able to recognise their name is because if you think about it, when they start school, they're going to have their name in their jumper, it's going to be on their tray, on their drawer, it's going to be on their peg, it might be on their lunchbox, it's going to be all over the place, I imagine. And by making sure that your child can recognise their name or just supporting them to start recognise their name, it just helps them to become more responsible for their own items, which is all part of learning to be independent. So, you know, on those hot summer days when they all whip the jumpers off and pile them up, there's no point them knowing that their size is age 4 to 5 because they're all age 4 to 5. They need to be able to recognise their name that's in their jumper. So parents, don't forget to put names in jumpers. Very, very important. Coming from an ex-teacher, I know how important it is. So we want our children to be able to recognise their name so that they can look after their own belongings. They need to start taking responsibility for their things. And if it's labelled, as it will be in school, water bottle included, they want to be able to recognise their name. And it just makes life a whole lot easier for them and for you at the end of the day when you're rummaging around looking for those bits and pieces. So I have a few playful ways that we can do that. Now, with everything that I talk to you about, whether it's teaching your child a new skill or something like recognise their name, always start with play. Please, always start with play. Because when we do that, it makes it playful, it makes it fun, and it makes sure that there's not too much pressure on our young children. So we've talked about why it's really important that they recognise their name. Now I'm going to give you a couple of ways that you could play with their name, because what we want them to do is we want them to be able to see their name written and to recognise it and know that it says their name. So quite often you will find, particularly with younger ones, they will recognise the first letter of their name. And this reminds me of a funny story of Mason when he was little, when we used to be out and about and you'd walk past the public toilets and they say men's toilets on the door. Mason always thought they were his toilets. There's my toilets, they're Mason toilets. Because he recognised the capital M in his name, Mason, and he recognised the capital M in the sign saying men's, and associated it with his name and thought it said his name. So don't worry if your child is at that stage. It's brilliant. They're recognising the first letter of their name, and that's quite often what happens. Then they will often recognise the last letter of their name or the word, depending on how long the letter is, or how long the name is rather. And then the letters in between will sort of sort themselves out. So don't worry about that. But you may notice that they are starting to recognise that first letter, which is really important and very personal to them. So some ideas of what things that you can do. Now, before we go into the play ideas, I just want a little reminder coming from, I am an ex-teacher, used to be teaching before I had Mace. I used to be the one welcoming them in September in the reception class. Just to remind you, when you are teaching your child to recognise their name, that they are recognising it or writing it with a capital letter at the beginning and then all the rest of the letters in lowercase, please, because quite often what happens is capital letters are much easier for young children to form because it's lots of straight lines to build up the letters. However, then when they start school in September, if they've been practicing and learning it in capital letters, the teachers then have to unpick all that learning, and it can be really tricky. So if you are starting to practice and you're going to be playing some activities, try and make sure that you're starting with a capital letter at the beginning and lowercase for the rest of them, and they will get into the habit of noticing that. And then that also, then you will see that in their writing and their reading and all sorts of lovely things. So that is just a little tip from an ex-teacher. So the kind of things that you can do, I've got some milk bottle tops here with some stickers on, or you could use a marker pen and write them on. Write the letters from their name. I don't know what this spells. I just grabbed some ones, but put them on bottle tops and then let them mix them around, you know, make it like a puzzle, mix them up. Quite often they'll put the first one that they recognise first, and then the others might be in a bit of a funny order. That's all right, just have a little play around with them. You could do it on stones, you could do it on lollipop sticks, you could do it on anything, and have a go at shuffling around and just playing with the letters from their name. If you've got any bath foam letters or magnetic letters or anything like that, pick out the ones that are just in their name and have a little play with those, and as they recognise it, maybe add in some others that maybe aren't in their name, just to throw them a bit and see how they manage with that. So play with the letters. And make it lots and lots of fun. Or you can write out their name, capital letter, all the rest lowercase, chop it up to make it like a jigsaw, and again rearrange it. So it just makes it lots and lots of fun for your little one. Like I said, nice and playful for getting to recognise their name. So then once they've mastered that and they're starting to recognise their name, you know, they don't have to be perfect for September, but just having a good go and starting to recognise and talk about their name and things like that. Then we're going to move on to having a go at writing their name. Now, if they're not there, if they're not at this stage developmentally, don't worry about it. Like I always say, please don't force it. Keep it playful. It's all about pressure-free. We don't want to be piling on any pressure on our children over the summer. It's all about keeping it playful, making memories together, having fun before they start school. But if your child, you feel, is ready at the stage for having a go at writing their name, that's absolutely brilliant. And second name's included in that if you want to go for that as well. But again, keep it playful. Our children have the rest of their lives to sit at a table with a piece of paper having to form tiny little letters on lines. You know, we don't want that. That's not appropriate for our 4 and 5-year-olds. We want to keep it playful. We want to keep it fun. So one of my favourite things that you can do, a baking tray with some flour or sugar or salt in it, and let them use their finger and have a go at writing the letters from their name. Brilliant way of mark making, keeps it really fun. Things like using water, paintbrushes with water outside on the pavement, something like that. Chunky chalks, all those things, sorts of things. Keep it really fun. I'm not a fan of tracing of dots on paper for children to copy. For our young children, you know, their hand muscles are not formed. It's very tricky. It's hard enough anyway for them to hold a pencil or a pen without having to follow someone's dots. They may be brilliant at writing the letters from their name, but they might be, I don't know, ow, I'm getting stuck in the plant. They might be meters tall. That doesn't matter. They've still got the letters just because they're not following the dots. So if you can, please, I'm not a fan of tracing, and I'll go into that. There's a whole nother video about why I think there are other ways to teach our children to write without using tracing. So that's a whole kettle of fish. Anyway, so yeah, keep it really playful. Do lots of fun things, making their names, make their name sign for their door, all sorts of different things like that, and just keep it really, really playful. Try and find lots of ways that you can play. There's loads on the Play Hooray website. There's loads on my page. Have a look and just have a good old play around with it. And it will be brilliant for your little one when they start in September, that they can recognise where they need to put their coat on their peg, they can recognise their drawer and all sorts of things. And you'll notice it will help them to become that little bit more independent and responsible for their own items. So I hope that helps. I look forward to seeing what you get up to. And next week, don't forget to tune in. I will be back live next week, next Wednesday at 10 o'clock, and I'll be sharing another activity you can start doing, a bit of play over the summer to prepare your little ones for starting school in September. Don't panic, and happy playing.